Peace and blessing be all of his messengers, in particular the last messenger of God, Prophet Muhammad, and his immaculate family. اللهم كن لوليك الحجة بن الحسن صلواتك عليه وعلى آبائه في هذه الساعة وفي كل الساعة وليا وحافظا وقائدا وناصرا ودليلا وعينا حتى تسكنه أرضك طوعا وتمتعه فيها طويلا. Assalamu alaikum, my respected brothers and sisters. Inshallah, you are keeping well. May Allah accept your deeds. تقبل الله أعمالكم وطاعتكم. Alhamdulillah, all praise be to God that granted us another chance to be with you and to take a glance at principles of faith. As you remember, in the previous session, 2 weeks ago, we started talking about attributes of God. Because of this kind of gap and distance between sessions, let me have a kind of small and brief review, right, or recapitulation. Attributes of God. If you rack your brain, we did talk over attributes of God from beginning, and we had a kind of categories, and we said first and foremost we have to classify all attributes of God into 2 categories. Please do your best to keep in mind. First is as-sifatu thubuti, right? And the second is as-sifatu salbi. When you want to talk about attributes and qualities of God, it is really vital point to know this category, right? As-sifatu thubuti, as-sifatu salbi, or affirmative attributes and negative attributes. So in parentheses, dear brothers and sisters, we don't emphasize on the term, on the terminology, on the some expressions, Islamic expressions. If I'm doing it because of sometimes you hear this kind of expressions and you get confused, right? But in reality, no need. We are here to get more familiar with attributes of God, right? We are looking for being a good believer. That's it. Nothing more than it. Okay? So as-sifatu thubuti, as-sifatu salbi. As-sifatu thubuti, as we said, or affirmative attributes, these kind of attributes can be ascribed to God, right? Such as al-ilm, knowledge, al-qudra, power, and as-sami, al-alim, and so on. But as-sifatu salbi, on the other side of this coin, we can say these kind of attributes that we are unable to ascribe and attribute to God at all. Okay? And we mentioned, because of we had chance to talk over this kind of attributes in the previous session, let me move on. As-sifatu thubuti divided into 2 parts, right? The first is as-sifatu zat, and the second is as-sifatu al-fi'l, or inner attributes or outer attributes, and we talk over it. Let me go on. And because of these kind of points are really critical, that's why let me have a review. As we said, and we insist, it is part of our belief. We insist on this critical point. When we are talking about attributes of God, dear brothers and sisters, it doesn't mean God has this one as a kind of component, as a kind of item. For example, related to you, to me, human beings, when we consider some kind of skills, such as mathematics, physics well, right, and so on, right? It's a kind of knowledge. We have to acquire them, right? We have to gain them after a kind of sometimes a bitter struggle, okay? But but related to God, absolutely it is wrong. And another point is, please keep in mind, we have to uh, acquire them, okay? It means your knowledge is something and you yourself is something else, right? It doesn't mean it's mixed to you. That's why sometimes you see when sometimes some guy gets ill and sick after a long while, that he's being really expert in this knowledge, okay? He used to be professor. He would be a kind of professor in academic issues at some kind of universities, but after a long while he has no knowledge. He forgot everything. Okay, because of this one is not. I mean, this knowledge is not part of his essence. Okay, this knowledge, when we are talking about knowledge, when we reflect on ourselves as a human beings, as a creature, it is not it is not part of our essence. Rather, it is something else. That's why it's okay to live it sometimes. Okay, someday, probably for some reason it would be vanished. Okay, but how about God? Absolutely not. That's why we believe God is basir. God is simple. God has no any component. God has no any item. It is really critical point. For this reason, I'm focusing on it more and more. Okay, God is not in Arabic terminology. They say God is not murakkab. God is absolutely basir, right? It means it is not okay to point. This is a attribute of God, and this is another attribute, and this is God itself. No, 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 no. God is mixed with all attributes together, right? So it's not okay to cut this one, to banish this one, to leave this one. No, God is mixed with his attributes. If we believe in God, if we say God, if we call Allah or whatever you can call it, it means God is included all these attributes, right? As a sifatu thubuti. For example, as I mentioned, al-hayy, al-sami', al-basir, al-qadir, and so on. Okay? And Amir al-Mu'mineen says, La sifatun za'idun ala dhatih. There is no any attribute beyond his essence. Rather, everything is essence. Okay? Let's continue. In the previous session, if you have any question, brothers, in this regard, you have to. I know. Sometimes it would be tough to digest, to understand, to realize, but you have to reflect upon it. You have to thinking. You have to think about it. التدبر في القرآن, it means this. Think over it deeply. Okay, and if you have any question, I'll be service to answer your possible questions. In the previous session, we started from the first attribute of God, which is al-azali and al-abadi, right? Eternity, infinity. God is eternal. God is infinite. What does it mean? When we say God is infinite, God is eternal, it means God has no beginning. God has no ending. God is forever. كل من عليها فان ويبقى وجه ربك ذو الجلال والإكرام. What does it mean? It means there is no any point of beginning for God, and there is no point of ending for God as well. Rather, in other words, when we imagine God, when we want to describe God as God has no beginning. It's a kind of comparative matter. That's why we have to at first imagine time and then going to say, yeah, God has no beginning, because of beginning and ending is associated with time, isn't it? That's why even this kind of description and imagination would be wrong, because of God is beyond time. God is creates. God is creator of time and place and so on. But because of there is no any kind of term and word to use to engage, that's why we have to admit this one and say God has no beginning and God has no ending. So when we say he's the first, it means he has no beginning. هو الأول والآخر, right? When we say it, God is al-awwal. Al-awwal, it doesn't mean we are comparing something to God, and in comparison to God, God is the first and this is the second and this is the end and this is the last, this is the third. No, 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 no. Rather, when we say God is the first, al-awwal, God means God has no beginning. It means huwa al-awwal wal-akhir. When we said God is al-akhir, God is the end, it doesn't mean before this one. No, 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 no. Just imagine we have to admit time, and because of we are limited to time, right? And there is no any escape from that. For this reason, we need to consider everything through time, and then going to say has no beginning, has no ending, and so on, right? And in the previous session, if you remember, we provided some arguments for this claim, for this reason, right? Why we said God is eternal? Why we said God is God has no beginning, has no ending? It is really nice verse and surah of Quran, the best identification of God. If you're looking for idea of God, it is the best way to get to know. السورة التوحيد or الإخلاص. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. Because of we are a creature, isn't it? We are a creature, and there is no way to comprehend and realize God well. That's why it's the best way to refer to His words, to refer to His description about Himself, right? Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Qul huwallahu ahad. In the name of God, the most compassionate, the most merciful. Qul, say or proclaim, He is the one and only God. Qul huwallahu ahad. Allahu samad. So you see, in some battles, companions of prophets complain to the prophet about Amir al-Mu'minin, the commander of the faithful, and said to the prophet, "O prophet, Amir al-Mu'minin is used to reciting this verse in every single prayer. We get tired out. So why he doesn't use another and engage another verse as alternative, right? We have a lot of verses and surah in Quran, and we can recite in our prayer and in our salat alternatively, right? And when prophet asked Amir al-Mu'mineen, so what's your answer? He replied, "O prophet, I know Quran, I know. And Madinatul Ilm wa Aliyun Babaha. No doubt Amir al-Mu'mineen is closer one to the Prophet. Amir al-Mu'mineen, the gate of Prophet's knowledge. Without a doubt, everyone admits this issue, this one, right? But Amir al-Mu'mineen says it's really nice one. Says, "O Prophet, I'm really interested in this surah because of it's the best a description and identification of God. If you wanna get familiar with God, it is the best way. God is starting to describe himself, right? قُلْ هُوَ اللَّهُ أَحَدٌ. However, this surah and this kind of surah and verses are really brief and small, but when we look at it, when we reflect upon it, we can realize, we can find out many and multitudinous knowledge behind it, right? قُلْ هُوَ اللَّهُ أَحَدٌ. He is the one and only God. That's why, dear brothers and sisters, if someone asks you about your religion and about your belief, about your belief, about your, uh, what kind of God do you believe in it, right? You would answer with this one. You would provide, and just recite this one. قُلْ هُوَ اللَّهُ أَحَدٌ, right? Say, He is the one. He's the only God. He's only God. As-Samad. What does it mean? The absolute God. So if I want to talk over it is really time consuming, and we need to interpret and go through some details. That's why no need to shed light on it at all. Just I wanted to make you familiar, to kind of um, open a new gate for you on your mind, right? لم يلد ولم يولد. Never did he beget, nor was begotten. ولم يكن له كفوا أحد. None equals him. Even we can say the last part of the surah, the last words of the surah, is really precious one, and we have to appreciate it. ولم يكن له كفوا أحد. No one equals him. So most of time, brothers and sisters, we get in trouble in terms of principles of religion, related to the religion and so on, because of our definition, our description of God is completely wrong. We are not on track. When you're on track, make sure there is no any argue, there is no any question anymore, right? وَلَمْ يَكُنْ لَهُ كُفُوًا أَحَدٌ. Okay, let me continue. So up until now, we mentioned God is al-azali, al-abadi, all together means al-sarmadi, right? God is eternal and God is infinite. Okay, let me continue. And the second attribute of God is al-qadir, omnipotence, right? Omnipotence, we believe God is omnipotent. God is all powerful, right? God, everything is under his supervision. God is not obliged to do this and to not this. Rather, God is completely free to do whatever he wishes, right? He's not like me. He's not like the others. He's not like other creatures. Everything is creature, but God is creator, right? It is the main difference between. Keep in mind this one. God is creator and Masi Allah, right? Everything, but God is creature, right? That's why it is the main difference between God and other things. When we say God is omnipotent, and God has this attribute, omnipotence, it means God is able to whatever he wishes. إنما أمره إذا أراد شيئا فيقول له كن فيكون. What does it mean? It means Allah, God, wants to do something, no need to make something, no need to do some special, such as me and you, to prepare something to get conclusion. No, 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 no. Just يقول, he says. Okay, he says, and we have to talk about it. What does it mean by saying, right? He says يقول له كن فيكون. Be and it is. That's it. Okay, no need to more action, no need to more and more. Just he says be and it is. That's it, right? If you remember in the previous session, we stopped till this point and I brought up this question. Sometimes we hear this question, and probably you've heard so far. Could God created a heavy stone that he couldn't lift it? So this question would be specific on the surface, prima facie, it would be difficult to answer. Could God created a heavy stone, a heavy rock, imagine, right? That he himself couldn't lift it. So what do you think? Do you think it is possible? Do you think it is okay? Have you ever think about it? Have you ever thought about it? So we such a this question we face. For example, could God put all this universe, right, including stars, sun, moon, and all galaxies, right, put into the egg without changing the size of the egg and without changing the size of the universe? So if you say no, so God is limited. It is not God. Sometimes you're asked, right? So what's your answer? How would you answer such a this question? If you're asked that such a this question, probably you stop. Wow, how can I answer this question? Why? If I say no, so God is not powerful anymore, right? But today, inshallah, I'm gonna give you a really simple answer of this question. This question, please be with me. This question is wrong because the hidden concept behind it. What's kind of wrong concept behind it? So first off, we have a kind of pre-assumption that we say God is, right? God is omnipotent, isn't it? What does it mean? Let's go step by step. When you want to discuss with somebody, when you want to argue with somebody, specifically atheist, you have to go step by step. No, we are not in hurry. We are not in rush, right? Step by step, okay? We believe in omnipotence, right? God is omnipotent. What does it mean? It means all powerful. Power equals al-qudra. When someone is qudra, it means he is qadir, right? In Arabic language, al-qadir means he is powerful. He is able to do something. All powerful, it means he is able to do whatever he wishes. There is no any limitation. There is no any restriction at all, right? There is no any scope. That's why we believe just Allah is omnipotent. No one else, not at all. Even infallibles, no. Just Allah is omnipotent. At first, we need to know the right definition of al-qudra, the right definition of al-qadir, right? So it means Allah is omnipotent, is absolute in power, right? Right, it is true. So, such as this example, someone refers to you and say, I'm trying to let you know your question is wrong. Listen up. Someone says, I'm absolutely loyal, right? Listen up, listen carefully. I'm absolutely loyal. So is it true or is it wrong? Please examine it, analyze it in your mind. I'm absolutely loyal. Okay? It means I do always tell a lie. I'm absolutely loyal. If he is loyal, it means this sentence is wrong, right? I'm absolutely loyal. If you are true, so your sentence is lie because of you say I am absolutely loyal. That's why this sentence should be wrong as well. Okay, and if he's not loyal, so this is wrong as well. This is lie as well because of you claim I'm absolutely loyal. Catch it? So it is exactly right this question. Okay, when you say God is able to create it, for example, someone like him, like himself as a God, so it means you are saying simultaneously at the same time, God is able to create a uncreated and created person. Hey, come on. Because of if if God wants to create it something like him, right? This one should be create this one should be creature. So it's not creator, right? So it means just imagine you are asking me, God is able to create it something, okay, or somebody is uncreated and created at the same time. Come on, your question is wrong. It is not related to God. It has nothing to do with uh, power of God at all. Rather, if there is some problem, if there is some wrong from your side, from your question, okay? For this reason, this sentence contradicts itself, right? No need to continue about it. No need to continue to talk over it. God is able, yeah, God is able, but this capacity is not okay. For example, they say God is able to make 2 plus 2 equals 5. Hey, come on. 2 plus 2 equals 5. If you say no, they say, oh, see, your God is not powerful. Your God is not omnipotent. Hey, come on. It's not associated with God, has nothing to do with God at all. Rather, if there is something, it is impossibility from the side of 2 plus 2. 2 plus 2 every time, always, constantly should be 4. Right? 2 plus 2. That's why when this man, mashallah, about 14 centuries ago, atheists came to Amir al-Mu'mineen, the commander of the faithful, and asked Amir al-Mu'mineen the same question, right? And asked him, oh, the commander of the faithful, you say God is omnipotent, right? You say God is able to create everything, right? And ask him, so God is able to put, as I mentioned, to put all these galaxies into the egg without changing the size of egg and galaxies? Amir al-Mu'mineen salamullah alayh replied, قال إن الله تبارك وتعالى لا ينسب إلى العاجز والذي سألتني لا يكون. Absolutely, your question is wrong. This is kind of problem from your inside question. It's not from God at all. So you're unable to ascribe something impossible to God. Your question is wrong. You have to change it. Okay. So just imagine they say God is able to uh, God is able. Can God create a stone, a heavy rock that He couldn't lift it? Hey, dear brother and sister, when you raise this question, you should consider gravity, Earth gravity, place, time, and what a lot of factors that's all completely created by God, right? What got behind it? There is no any gravity for God, right? If you are unable to lift this one to pick up it to pick up this stone because of gravity, right? If there is no any gravity, absolutely you would lift it without any problem. Okay, so God is creator of gravity. See, let me continue and um, yeah. So, dear brothers and sisters, when you face some such of these questions and argues and kind of problems and something like this and questions, don't worry, never mind. Sometimes we need to think, right? It doesn't mean I'm illiterate. I know nothing. Wow, what a poor knowledge I have. No, no need. No need to be afraid at all. Do your best to think about it. Okay, tell him, please give me some time. I need to think about it. I need to ask others. Sometimes our mind is blocked for some reason, right? We are not infallible, rather we are fallible. Okay, so never mind and think about it, and step by step you can answer it without any problem. It's okay, let's continue. That's why God is al-Qadir. God is omnipotent, right? God is all powerful. There is no any power over God at all. The next attribute of God is al-Alim, omniscient. Omniscient. When we say God is omniscient or omniscience, right? God is omniscient. It means every knowledge that you can imagine, God has it. Okay? It means God ألا يعلم من خلق وهو اللطيف الخبير. So don't you think that God is God knows everything, right? العلم. However, we need to discuss about the concept of ilm at first and then continue to talk over it. Um, Please keep in mind this point. When we say God is alim, as we said before, time and again, this ilm is not changeable, right? It's completely fixed. It doesn't mean God for example, 2 years ago, uh, knew this one and now he doesn't know, or vice versa. No, 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 no. From beginning, from beginning, God did know everything and nothing add to his knowledge. It begs some question. Please listen up. Listen carefully. Listen. If you say God knows everything, right? Not now, from beginning. Even even before creating everything, right? Even before creation, God knew everything. Okay? It means God knows what I to do in this world. I'm gonna to hell, I'm gonna to astray, I'm gonna to paradise, heaven, and what is my destination. Yeah, God knows or doesn't know. We have to admit, yes, God knows. God knows everything. So how about free will? Don't you think it's a kind of al-jabr, right? If God knows everything, even you say from beginning, not now, from beginning, and for example, if you're sitting down there, you are man of heaven or you are, God forbid, man of hell. So what is my duty? What is my duty? What is my responsibility here? Don't you think I'm kind of puppet in this world and I have no any free will? Please mull this over, and inshallah for the next session I'm gonna discuss about it. I'm gonna talk over it and make it really clear for you. If we say God knows everything, it means it means we are limited. It means we we are unable to do whatever we wish, as some kind of sects say and claim, right? That's why after the killing Abu Abdullah al-Hussein in Karbala, when the daughter of Amir al-Mu'mineen Zainab al-Kubra salamullah alayha came to Yazid and said to him, what did you do? He said, no, I didn't do it, but God does it. If Abu Abdullah al-Hussein, if the grandson of our beloved prophet murdered and killed and slaughtered in desert of Karbala, it is not my fault. Rather, it is God's fault. It is God's fault. God wanted to do it, right? For example, if I get slapped on your chin or on your skin, for example, it is not my fault. It is from God. Is it true? If I insult you, if I tell some bad words, something like this to you, it is not my fault. Rather, is it true? If I'm a loser, if I'm a thief, for example, so it hasn't been in my hand. Rather, God wanted. I think even some kind of a kid can understand it. How kind of ridiculous a statement should be that we are unable to change our destiny and we are kind of puppet in this world. Inshallah, in the next session, in the subsequent session, we are gonna talk over it and shed light on it and go through some other attributes of God as well, such as Al-Sami, Al-Basir, Al-Hayy, Al-Murid, Al-Mutakallim, and As-Sadiq, and so on and so forth. And then, inshallah, we are gonna start talking about al-maratib al-tawheed, right? Which is really nice one to know al-maratib al-tawheed. So I'm at your service, dear brothers and sisters. If you have any questions, please relevant question to this topic, I'm here to answer your question. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.